What would you rather listen to? First Two Pages of Frankenstein or Gasms?
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Taste Like Music. Jason and Joe here. Double album review, talking about two new releases from very different artists. These two records have very little in common, except for the fact that they were both recently reviewed by Pitchfork, and we found their scores for these two records to be kind of interesting, given the site's history of how they feel about certain things. So we're talking about the new Smokey Robinson record, which is bizarrely titled Gasms, and the new National record called The First Two Pages of Frankenstein. So I'm a pretty big National fan. Cram and I reviewed their discography, ranked all the albums, and I like Smokey Robinson. I know all the old hits and Miracles stuff and all the Motown stuff, and can't say I've followed a ton of his stuff in more recent years, but was interested to see what a record called Gasms was all about. And I don't know, should we say what the Pitchfork scores were first?
Yeah, let's get that out of the way. Because that is the big shocker. I think that's the surprise here.
So first of all, they gave the National 6.6, which is the lowest score they've given a record of the Nationals since their debut, which had the same score, 6.6. But everything since then has been sevens, eights, upper eights. I don't know if they had any in the nines, but yeah, they've been pretty high on the National for quite a while now, going on a couple decades. So this one, disappointing to Pitchfork. Gasms coming in ahead of it at the 7.2, which I was shocked by, having heard the title track. So I went back and listened to the whole thing to see if that 7.2 made any sense after hearing the rest of it. How do you feel about these scores? And
I'm honestly, I'm not the National. Is it the National? Do I have to say the National every time I talk about them? I'm not a big fan of the National. I skipped out on that week, and I was happy to do so. I think I like one song that I've heard from them, and I'm a pretty huge Smokey Robinson fan. At least Smokey Robinson, The Miracles won a bunch of Song of the Year nominations and such like that. But when you entitle an album Gasms, it didn't really get me excited to take a listen. So I was interested for this one. You have the National coming off their Taylor Swift, the production work with Aaron Dresner and everybody, and the National are big now. Like they've graduated from the indie world, and they're sort of like, I don't know, the figurehead for that like dad rock sort of like sad mopey, whatever sound they're going for, the vaguely aspirational, inspirational dad rock for you to cry into your organic free take coffee while listening to In Your Patagonia jackets. And I was really happy how much I hated the National album. I think the other albums from them, I could at least see why people would like them. This new one, oh, it is just completely past their prime, like trying to be like U2-ish. All the songs have like big, like, inspirational piano lines where it's like you're trying to like get big and anthemic, but still in like your indie dad rock kind of way. You have big guest stars like Phoebe Bridgers, who does like that breathy female backing vocal on a couple tracks. It's super safe and polite, and like it just totally is like exactly what I wanted to hear, so I could make fun of it on this review, and it totally lived up to it. And I'm sure their other stuff is better than this. Like, I don't think this is their like sound, but it really feels like they're like, okay, we were with Taylor Swift now, so we gotta amaze the people. We gotta like bring our biggest, like, least controversial, most straightforward, big arena indie rock. And that's exactly what they did. I find it's okay because it's, well produced. The drumming is really good. Can't knock the drumming. I know you guys love the drummer. And I did notice, the rhythms and the drums a lot in this, and that was definitely the best part of it. I actually think the Taylor Swift guest vocal is probably the best song on the album, the Alcott, just because Taylor like brings like that extra melodicism to the track. And it's pretty good, but everything else just kind of sounds the same. It's all mid tempo. It never go like there's no new sounds. They're not on the cutting edge of anything. It's just like them basking in their like new appeal. So I give it 2.5 stars. I think it stinks. Gasms, I was impressed. Other than the title track, which is terrible. The name of this the album, Gasms, just absolutely the wrong way to go on this one, Smokey. You had a good album here. I think it's played well. A lot of neo soul. I think he sounds great for 83. His falsetto still excellent. His vibrato still that undulating, like that close undulating style that I love. I mean, I can listen to him sing all day. The title track is almost unlistenable and is like just throwing like eargasms, eyegasms, gasms. Like someone needed to tell him no on that because everything else I think is pretty solid. I fit in. I mean, the lyrics are a little questionable. It's like watching the Golden Girls, where it's like kind of old people talking about sex, and it's just like, it's kind of uncomfortable, but I kind of, I get it too. Some nice Philly, orchestration, some disco strings, some spry, smoky, some saucy saxophone. And we don't have each other. It's just a nice professional funk song. I think it's good. Some nice funky guitar, sparse airy bass line. And I liked it a lot more than I thought I would. I'm not going to go 4 stars with it. I'm going to go 3.5 because I think it's good. And I kind of agree with Pitchfork. Like it's a really good album for an 83-year-old. And it's, not Smokey and the Miracles. It's not Tracks of My Tears or anything like that, but it's definitely better than the National. And I'm really glad that I can say that. So yes, it is definitely better than the Nationals lamely titled First Two Pages of Frankenstein.
All right. Well, I partially agree with Pitchfork and I partially don't. I agree with them on the National, which I think is a big old step down for them. It sounds like the National still. It's not like a different sound that they're coming with that doesn't work. It sounds like a lot of their other stuff, but there's absolutely no surprises on this record at all. Usually almost every track of theirs has like moments that like make your ears perk up, or like some really interesting lyric, or like a guitar that'll come in with a really cool sound, and or just something will happen that will make you go, man, that's cool. And it just never happens on this record at all. It's just like musical wallpaper. They're just walking over already well-worn ground, stuff they've done before and stuff they've done better. Their last record, they had a bunch of different female vocalists on, a lot of duets, and I thought it worked really well conceptually with what they were doing. Here, the guests don't matter much, I don't think. Sufjan, Phoebe, and Taylor, I don't think make much of a difference or much of an impact. The 6.6 from Pitchfork, I think makes sense, and I think it's actually pretty fair. For me, I do like the National a lot still, so it's a really light 3.5. I almost went down to 3. So, I mean, it's fine, but disappointing coming from them. And I wrote in my notes, this is probably what Joe thinks every National album sounds like to him. So yeah, just kind of boring. I don't look at the Smokey record as favorably as Joe. I think Gasms is the worst song, for sure. It's so embarrassing. It's so uncomfortable to listen to. The lyrics, I can't believe anyone let this be released. It is just, it is one of the worst songs I've heard. Definitely the worst of the year so far. I don't think I've heard a worse song yet in 2023 than Gasms. It is just, I mean, it's funny. It's hilarious. You should listen to it if you haven't heard it yet. The mix, I think the music sounds pretty good on this record. The band sounds all right. Smokey, I think, is way, way, way too loud on the entire thing. I think it just like I think he sounds good for 83, but not good for like he doesn't sound great. And I think putting him so loud in the mix just like kind of leaves him a little exposed. I think if he was tucked into the mix a little more, probably wouldn't notice some of the shortcomings. But I think every little shortcoming that he has is on full display because he's so damn loud front and center in the mixes. My favorite song on the record is probably the second song, How You Make Me Feel. I think that's probably the best on the record. It's got this cool, like, weird, almost like Moogie sounding synth solo thing in the middle, which is kind of cool and interesting. And yeah, like I saw in reviews of this record, people talking about how good he sounds. And I don't know, like for 83, yeah, I guess it's about as good as you can expect. But that quiet, whispery delivery on I Want to Know Your Body, just it's like, it's not working. I think it's kind of creepy. Not all of the record's terrible, but I think even at its best, it's pretty middling adult contemporary R&B, and it's all horned up to 11. Just a pretty uncomfortable listen. I think without the title track, I would probably have gone 2.5, but I think that song is so unforgivable that it cost it an entire star. I'm at 1.5 stars on Gasms. It is my least favorite album that I've heard this year.
Oof.
It is not good.
Well, I'm disappointed in you saying that because it's definitely better than 1.5 stars. It's much better than the National album in pretty much every way. Even the singing, even Smokey at 83 is better than Matt Berninger, whatever his dumb name is, 40 or 50 or whatever. It's hard to tell because he's that silver fox kind of looking guy. But I mean, I would much rather listen to Smokey sing in his falsetto and his unique vibrato than the baritone sort of, mumbling. Like there's even like a talking part in each album that I sort of noticed. Smokey's kind of doing like the lover boy talking. Berninger does his sort of like lame talking, like, we're in this together, like this, oh, come on, everybody. And it's just like it's a mug of lukewarm milk, like is what the National album is. And I would take the Smokey and sort of the weird singing about sex over that. I mean, it's like watching This Is Us compared to the Golden Girls. Like at least there's personality, even if it's a little uncomfortable with the Golden Girls. Like This Is Us is just like pablum wallpaper, just like written to sort of toy with your emotions in an unfair and uncool way. I'll take the classic Smokey. Good for him getting those gasms at 83. That's like I said.
You might have an argument if the Smokey record didn't open with Gasms. I don't think that you can argue that a record with that song on it is better than anything. It's
it
so
hurts.
bad.
It hurts. But I think everything else is good. I think take off gasms, and I was impressed with everything else on it. But gasms is, damn it, Smokey, why would you do that?
Well, let us know what you think of these two records and what you think of the Pitchfork take of the Smokey Robinson Gasms record being better than a record by the National. Seems unthinkable that they would do such a thing, but they have done it, and maybe a bit due to the National's own fault of getting kind of boring these days. So drop your thoughts down in the comments, hit the like button, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.